I had no idea that eventually I would become an actor and even open a theater in my hometown of Omaha, Nebraska. I am from Omaha, and yes, there are black people in Omaha. In fact, there are 67 there now. No, 65. My wife and I are here tonight, so we have a large population of black people in Omaha. In fact, Omaha leads the nation in disparity between haves and have-nots. In the home of Warren Buffett, more millionaires per capita than any city in the nation. Blacks are the poorest in the nation. When you go through the black community, we have absolutely nothing other than churches and that sort of thing. And everything outside of Omaha is just, it's just an amazing city. And I've lived there all my life throughout my professional career that I started when I was 45 years old. I didn't start until I was 45 years old because my wife, and she doesn't like me to tell this story, but she didn't want any part of what she perceived an actor's life to be. And looking back on it in retrospect, she was right, because it probably would have destroyed the family early on, because I was young and dumb and did a lot of stupid things in those days, but she stuck by me anyway. And when I turned 45, I told her, my youngest son was a senior in college, and I told her, I said, I just got to do this. If you give me 3 weeks, you can handle things for 3 weeks, if it doesn't work out, I'll come back and I'll get a normal job. Within a week and a half, I was turning down theater work, and my first theater gig was a play called The Boys Next Door, and Don Cheadle was in that cast. Things started turning out pretty good after that. I've been a working actor all of my professional career, and as an actor, you never know when your next job is going to be. You always think that the last job was it. When I finished Everwood, I didn't get another job for a long time, and I thought, well, they found me out. I fooled them for all that time, but this guy can't act. But recently, I landed a sitcom with Cedric the Entertainer and Niecy Nash. We go into production in April. It's a thing called Have Faith, ironically, and it's a spinoff from Hot in Cleveland, a show that stars Betty White. We have the same production company, same producers and everything, so we're really excited about that. The show will start airing in June, but as an actor, you never know when you're going to work again, and so we're always concerned about that. My wife is, should I get a job? No, because I'll get another job. And fortunately, we have people like August Wilson, who wrote 10 plays, one for each decade of the last century, that will provide work for middle-aged actors forever. I say that I'm a middle-aged actor. My contemporaries said, no, you're not middle-aged, you're old. But at any rate, stage work doesn't pay a lot of money, but I do this because it's what I love. And so it's an honor for me to be here. I know a lot about the very poor. And when Tim asked me to do this, I was only too happy to do so. It's just an honor for me to be the national spokesperson. I'd like to run by some, and most of you know this, I'd like to run a few statistics by you. This was taken from the current population survey of 2011 from the annual social and economic supplement of the U.S. Census Bureau. The official poverty rate in 2010 was 15.1%. That was up from 14.3% in 2009. Now, this was the third consecutive annual increase in the poverty rate. In 2010, 46.2 million people were in poverty, and that's up from 43.6% in 2009, the fourth consecutive annual increase in the number of people in poverty. The poverty rate in 2010, 15.1%, was the highest poverty rate since 1993. The number of people in poverty in 2010 is the largest number in 52 years for which poverty estimates have been published. Between 2009 and 2010, the poverty rate increased for non-Hispanic whites from 9.4 to 9.9%. For blacks, from 25.8% to 27.4%, and for Hispanics from 25.3% to 26.6%. Between 2009 and 2010, the poverty rate increased for children under age 18 from 20.7% to 22.0%. Now, statistics only provide us with a snapshot of measurement. It really does not dwell on the real pain and suffering that those in poverty endure on a daily basis. We celebrate today the 50th anniversary of the writing of the quintessential work on poverty and class, The Other America, by Michael Harrington. He wrote back in 1962 about the invisibility of the poor. For most of America that is not impoverished, the poor are invisible to us, unless we venture by accident into an area that they reside in, or we see an apparent homeless person sleeping in a doorway or under a bridge. For most of us, we don't even notice that the poor are among us. We choose to ignore the existence of those in poverty. Invisible as in out of sight, out of mind. It offends our sensibilities, our sensitivities. They are inconvenient for us. That is, unless we can capitalize on their misfortune. The poor, they are inconvenient to us. And that says a lot about who we are as a people and a nation. If not for a few circumstances, the poor could be us. And perhaps that is why we choose to ignore them, because we don't want to see ourselves in that situation. The only people talking about the plight of the poor today are those political pundits on the right. Those that say the poor is bilking the system, that their plight is their own doing. As Mitt Romney said, the safety nets in place are more than adequate. While the more supposedly socially responsible left has remained strangely silent. The poor has become invisible to those who once championed its cause. Could it be that becoming an advocate for the poor and the disfranchised is a political liability? Mahatma Gandhi said, "You can judge a nation, a society, by the way they treat their weakest members." We must refocus our attention from bailouts of the rich and the unrelenting march of militarism to resolve global crisis and focus on the plight of the poor. It seems as if our attention is purposely being diverted from improving the conditions surrounding poverty. For those who say that being poor is because of their own doing, I say that being wealthy and in need of a bailout is a self-inflicted wound. Some of the poor are a direct result of corporate greed, political malaise, media inattentiveness, and public apathy. The financial crisis of 2008 that led to hundreds of thousands of foreclosures was partially responsible for the financial bailout given to banks. And rather than to assist the homeowners that were in trouble of losing their homes, the path chosen was to help the financial institutions. People lost their homes, and the banks became profitable, very profitable in a very short time. In fact, record profits. Some of these people who lost their homes are still homeless. Wouldn't it have been a better option to buy those troubled properties from the banks and mortgage directly back to the distressed owners?